You are now listening to Broken Line Podcast, presented by Fish Addictions TV. Ice Strong Titanium Spring Bobber, Eskimo Ice Fishing Gear, 13 Fishing, Striker Ice, Coles Resort of Bemidji, Minnesota, Aaron Eichhorst Photography.
So I am here all by myself, and I have Brett Kane in the building. Brett, it's so awesome that you're up in our neck of the woods, because I was just at Saginaw Bay. That's 14 hours away from here.
Yes.
Is where you were just at. And it's crazy to think that you're in my neck of the woods. So I know that you were saying it's a little bit of a drive, but I appreciate you stopping out.
Not a problem. I appreciate you having me.
What are you doing here? Like, what's your...
We actually have the AIM Weekend Walleye Series events on Leech Lake this weekend, so I just happen to be, about an hour south, so it worked out good when you reached out to me. These are some local, one-day events that I fish with my son. It gives us an excuse to go and do some fishing, which we don't get to do that enough anymore. And, today happens to be his birthday, so it was fun to spend, his birthday on the water. Probably go back and have a little celebration yet tonight with him.
I'm dragging you from his birthday.
That's okay. That's okay. He understands. He's been watching me all week. The calls, the texts, everything, the outpours. So he understands. It's all good.
It's the family support of the emotion that you're going through right now. And before we get to talking to you about tournaments and all that other stuff, tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from. Just so someone can get an idea. If they don't know who Brett Kane is, they can get it from this.
I'm just a scrappy kid that kind of came from nowhere. Was raised with split parents. Lived with my mom in Owatonna, Minnesota. Grew up, my dad. I'd get to see my dad, on weekends, every other weekend, things like that. But my dad really wasn't a fisherman per se. And still to this day really isn't. I mean, he supports me all the way through this and stuff, but it just wasn't his deal. So as a kid growing up, I had a passion to fish just naturally. And I would go down to the park in town in Owatonna, Minnesota, and I'd fish for pike in the river. I'd drive down to another creek, catch a few creek chubs and sucker minnows, and then I'd go down there and fish northerns. Or I'd ride my bike 10 miles out to my grandparents' place to fish carp in the creek.
Sounds like fishing is like in your blood since day one.
I think I have gills, so to speak.
You have gills.
People
like
to say. But then, being with my mom, growing up in Owatonna, we moved a lot. We moved around. And I ended up being neighbors to some three brothers that became literally brothers to me, the Berg family. And Gary Berg loved to fish. And he started taking me out to some ponds, and I was probably 5th, 6th grade at that point. And then they invited me on their family vacation up here, uniquely enough to Bena, Minnesota, to Cherney's Resort on 6 Mile Lake. My family didn't have a lot of money. My mom was extremely hardworking, worked 2 jobs, just to raise me and my sister. And so I went out and raised enough money to pay my way on this vacation to be able to go with those guys. And that's really where I started walleye fishing, was on 6 Mile Lake, right down the road here in Bena, Minnesota. So, but yeah, I would bale hay all summer, do whatever I had to do to be able to pay my way to make one walleye trip a year.
To make one trip.
Yeah. So, I mean,
So what you're saying is you had to do labor.
I had to do labor. I had to pay the piper.
But you decided that your money that you wanted to put towards maybe a vehicle payment or something, you wanted to at least have that one trip, and that's a special memory. Towards you. That's awesome to.
And I can't thank Gary Berg enough for taking me under his wing and getting me a start at this, which has turned into something pretty special for me. I mean, the fishing industry overall has been very, very good to me. but that's kind of who I am. This is what I live to do.
And it seems like there's always, no matter who you talk to, if you let's bring up some of your friends like Joe Okada and stuff like that, is it that almost everyone has someone special in their life that somewhat got them in the direction? You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think anyone cannot answer that like, oh yeah, my grandpa or this guy or that guy or this girl. You know, I just feel like that's cool because
somebody plants the seed.
Yeah, exactly. And with the society we have today, we got to plant the seed as much as we possibly can, yes. Especially getting those kids out. Your son, he is out there. He's got jerseys. He's got everything in the fishing industry too. And he's almost, if you would kind of say, maybe following in your footsteps.
Yep.
And that's cool to get that generation out because it's slipping, and
it is.
It's sad. We don't want this sport to die.
No. And I try to help him as much as I can. I did this whole thing through the School of Hard Knocks from the get-go. I mean, if I could go back 15 plus years now, probably 17, I would do things different. Number one, I would go back and definitely fish, on the co-angler side for a year or two. I jumped into this game thinking I knew how to walleye fish, and I quickly found out, man, I had a lot to learn, and I learned it all on the fly, on my own money. And
so you just want you want to pull your mic cable? No, the other one. Yeah, just pull that. It's tapping on the. So you decided when you wanted to get into tournament fishing. I guess that's a question I wanted to get to is what made you decide to be in tournament fishing, since that's where I've known you for well over 8 years. And it's one of those questions that maybe some other people have in my mind is, how'd you get into tournament fishing? And it sounds like you skipped co and went right to pro. Is that?
Well, basically, I took a short stint. I was kind of a hot rodder in high school. I loved my fast cars and different things. And I took a brief shot at drag racing.
And interesting.
I kind of lost my fishing ways, for 3 to 4 years as I went and did that. And then, I had what I figured was a pretty close call and maybe my sign on the track. And I just ended up going away from drag racing. And I'm like, all right, I'm going back to my real passion. And I got my fishing rods back out, bought a little boat, and just started goofing around.
Started doing it all over again.
And then, I thought, geez, I should try some of these tournaments. So I started fishing some team tournaments with Mark Smith and a few other guys, and just slowly worked my way through. But I never wanted to quit. I had the ultimate goal of fishing with my idols that I was seeing in the In Fisherman magazine.
That's another thing that I hear too a lot is every pro, at least from the ones that I've talked to, they all are like, yeah, this pro was my idol. And then when I got into fishing, I started, next thing you know, I'm fishing with my idol. And then he's my I'm his co-angler by chance, Yeah. And that's cool to...
And now I just want to beat him.
Yeah. No, you looked up
Parsons,
to him.
Keith Cabelas, all those guys. I just want to beat them.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it.
You look up to him, and then you're like, no, now it's time to win. You want to be that guy. Speaking of winning, Cabelas National Walleye Tour Location 2, which was in Saginaw Bay, Lake Huron. We just got back from it. You won. Number 1, 2-day event. You were out there, 7 days, I'm guessing, pre-fishing?
I think
more or less.
I got into town late Thursday night. I actually had some work to square up Friday morning. I was probably fishing by 10, 11 o'clock Friday morning, and then the tournament, of course, was the following Thursday and Friday. So I spent, my normal 4 to 5 days of practice on the water. What a cool place. It was kind of irony. I actually hadn't fished there, competitively at least. I'd spent a couple half days out there, but competitively I hadn't been there since the PWT. And, we know how long that's been going. So that was like in 2002 or 3. I've been meaning to look that up all week. But anyways, ironically, Saginaw Bay was the first Pro-Am professional tournament check I cashed.
That's so cool.
And so to go back and
that's awesome.
Relive that last week and do.
And the thing is like, you deserve it. Like, and everyone can say that whoever wins first place, second place, the first things you're going to be like, you deserve it. But, I mean, when you look at, all the tournaments that you do, or all the tournaments that there's so many like AIM and all that stuff that people do for tournaments, and you look at the fact that all these people are putting all their time and effort in, time away from family. I mean, everyone somewhat deserves it. But something about, Joe, you have your teammates there, right? Like Joe, and it's crazy to be able to, see Joe almost take it, and then you took it, and then you guys talk about your story where you're like, it's one of my best friends. Yes. I feel bad that I beat him, but at the same time, and then he does a video and he's saying how happy he is for you, and it's crazy how even though you might lose or get second place or third or fifth or 30th or 100th place, as a team in this family of fishing, they're always coming up and they're still so happy for whoever won. Right. But something about you deserve it, and congrats. And I'm excited because, for me, I started out doing AIM with the Next Bite like 2012. Is that what we were talking about? 2013, somewhere in there. That was my first kind of in the walleye series. And it wasn't, very big in a sense, but I got close to like 15 people, like Jim Carroll, stuff like that, Chemos. And, just to be able to kind of come back and now follow you guys a little bit through this whole series this summer, the NWT, it's cool that one of the 15 people that I somewhat have a connection with won. And that was, cool because you were one of the 15.
Well, I appreciate that.
And it just so happens it's crazy because I'm sitting there filming for our show, and it's like, okay, well, I'm sitting in the bay. Who do I get a couple shots of leaving? Because I'm not sitting there filming everyone. So we're sitting there on the. So basically, I did a little video for you, and
that was awesome, man. That was a great gift.
It was the 12-hour ride. We're sitting there, and it was actually Mike's idea. He's like, why don't you put something together? Because I made something for him, and he's like, who would mean Brett would probably almost tear up if he saw. I'm like, let's see what I can jamble around. And then it was, okay, what shots do I have of you? Because when like Carol and all those guys come up, in my mind I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get some shots of them. Yep. So if there's someone that I'm not slightly close to, in a sense, I'm not gonna have any footage of them at all. I might not have filmed a bunch of people, but I got you coming, up the chute, leaving the bay. It's like I only filmed 4 boats leaving, our 3 and yours for some reason. And when I saw that, because we were driving 12 hours back and I was editing in the vehicle, and all of a sudden I'm like, what's the freaking chances that I have this shot? Oh my God. And then it was back to when you were weighing in. It just so happened I got you coming up the ramp, because I didn't go down to the water for like anyone, but you were one of them. And then I got you going on stage and everything. I was like, wow, I could actually put together a 45-second, thing. And that was...
Yeah, and that was a fantastic gift. It really was. I greatly appreciate that.
And I super appreciate the people in your shoes. You guys, we did a podcast, 1 or 2 podcasts ago, where we talked about tournament fishing in a sense of what does the average fisherman think of tournament fishing? Like people maybe watch, they sit down and they're like, okay, I see like a Jack Lynx, or whatever, that one, the bass one, Major League Fishing. Yep. So you're looking at that, but you only see like a certain portion of the tournament, But it's like, what does the average person think that you guys go through every day? The drama, the pre-fishing, etc. I mean, what's some of the stuff that you go through in your tournament, in an average tournament?
Okay, this we could be here all night on this, but the average people really don't get it. Until they get close to it. And I've got some people around me right now that now understand, what this is all about. It's a thankless game most of the time. There's way more lows than there is highs. I tell people all the time that want to get into this game, man, if you can't take losing, this isn't the sport for you, because you're going to lose more than you win. That's just the way it is. I mean, you're chasing a target you can't see. We have the best equipment in the world now to chase these things, but you still can't see what you're chasing, right, in the end. But I guess I've always kind of been known, and my group has always kind of been known to go hard. And we just put in thankless hours prepping for this stuff. Joe and I were working on my boat. I just got my boat right before I left for Saginaw Bay. Him and I went to bed at 3:30 in the morning
Oof.
before we left at 7 a.m. to make the trek out to Bay City.
Jeez.
Remind me about the trek out to Bay City in a little bit because I don't want to lose my focus on that. But these are the things behind the scenes that people do not see. The months of prep work. I had 2 months of prep work into the Mississippi River event, which would have been in my backyard.
Switched.
Including babysitting a lot of very expensive bait and so on and so forth. And then we switched it. So then it's like start all over again.
Yep. And you don't have much time to start over.
No. But it takes an immense amount of work to compete at this level. It takes a ton of equipment, rods, reels, to be able to do this the right way. And most people just don't understand. They think you're just going out fishing. Well, no, that's not the case. I mean, for one, we don't get to pick our days.
Yeah.
And for two, there's no hours to this. And a lot of people go about this that, it's after 3. I'll just give you one example. It's after 3 o'clock on a practice day, or it's after 5. It does you no good to stay out there and keep working hard. I'll look you right in the eye and tell you I've made a lot of money after 5 p.m. at night, just because. And this one was a perfect example. The spot where I actually sealed up this tournament, and where I caught those 2 big fish, back-to-back casts right at the end, I found that spot at 8:30 p.m.
Nice.
And put my boat on the trailer that night at like 9:15, 9:20 p.m. When most of my competitors were long back,
Yep.
had dinner already.
How many hours are you thinking you were on the water? Or in average in most tournaments for prepping, how sun up, sundown?
Most days are 12 to 14 hours. And then you take like these Great Lakes events. You can drive, we drive 1 to 2 hours to get to the ramp we want to use that day because the water's so big. So that entire week was, 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. McDonald's, pizza, eating pizza.
The wonders of living on the road.
The life of the rock star, as they say.
Pizza Hut,
we had one square meal basically, all week that week. So, but it's a ton of work. The lows are low and the highs are high. But I wouldn't give it up, for the world, unless I absolutely had to. But most people just do not understand how grueling it is, both mentally, physically.
Lots of people, I think they turn on the TV and they see, again, we're going with Major League, and they see the pros out there casting, the cameraman in the boat and the referee, and they're just probably like, that looks like that's a dream job right there. But they don't know what it takes to be away from the family, the long hours, the random hotels, or sleeping in your vehicle, or juicing up at Walmart, juicing up at the old classic Walmart. The crappy foods you're eating, the discussions you're having with your teammates, the FaceTimes to your family. Those things are what build you down. But I'm guessing you have such a good support team that rides you back up in order for you to continually wanting, to do what you do.
Yep. I mean, no doubt, you miss a lot of things at home because you are on the road. I can only about imagine what the elite bass guys go through. They're in La Crosse this week, and I'm chasing them out to Pierre, South Dakota next week for work. We get a break. We do 4 of these big, what we consider our major events a year. And it gets grueling. And then I plug in these little, the smaller, the AIM weekend stuff and that, and it does. But it's just what we do. You become a road warrior. And that's just, how you live. I load up my truck in the spring.
Live out of a suitcase.
I don't unload it until fall. But to go back to the beginning, like I said, the first time I visited Saginaw Bay, I did sleep in my truck for that entire season on the PWT. Just trying to make it.
And it's crazy because people don't. we just said it. People don't truly understand, but how can you sit there and look at a professional walleye fisherman or just a professional fisherman in general thinking they're living the Ritz, they're over here at the Hamptons, and then you look over and you drive by a Walmart or something, and then you see a professional fisherman sleeping in their vehicle because they're grinding every single day. And sometimes you don't have time or money to go to do certain things and get hotels and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we won't even get into the money side of it, but there's
you spend a lot of money.
It is. It's high stakes poker is what this is.
You're gambling on a.
Yep, and again, I tell young guys coming in all the time, look, if you can't go all in.
Don't just put. You got to jump in. Don't just put your feet in.
These guys are going to eat you alive because that's just the way it is. I mean, we go to an event and if we get on a crankbait bite in the trees or something like that, and we got to spend $2,000 on crankbaits. That's how you have to win.
Yeah.
This one I, spent a lot of money on fuel for this
long
event.
runs.
Yeah, long runs, and it was.
And when you left the gate. So it was a 45-minute adventure out to idle speed with police and all that getting escorted. Once you hit the bay, now you're entering the Great Lakes.
Yes.
And you can go 2-3 hour runs and fish for 3 hours and then make 3 hour runs back, or go 30 miles or go 100 miles. Did you fill up at a gas station, a marina or anything like that on the way up and on the way back?
No, just on the way back. I was able to did a lot of calculations, the night before.
How far you can go on certain gallons.
Joe and I and Rob sat at the table figuring out fuel mileage and this and that. And the day before the tournament, specifically went out and figured out how hard I could run to maintain certain levels of fuel mileage.
I mean, that's just literally crazy that, again, like some of the average people might not even think the details of, all right, if I'm going to make a 100-mile run or this much run, I need to sit down and calculate the gas based on wind speed and all this stuff to know if you're going to make it back a lot. I mean, not going to say alive, but make it back in general to the turn. And then once you get back, you have a 45-minute slow idle back in. I mean, that's crazy to think of. Yeah, if you didn't know that, you stop and get gas, and you have to calculate it. And that's just one puzzle piece to the big picture of a tournament fisherman, and that's awesome.
I mean, what I just pulled off, and what Joe just pulled off, and Tom Keene. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong. It all has to fall into place. And I'll just lay out a day for you. So, we started at 6 a.m. because they extended our tournament day to 10 hours because of the no wake in and out. So that puts your day starting at 3:30. So it was 3:30 a.m. when we were rolling out of the sack.
I remember.
Yeah. And so immediately your mind starts thinking, once you've decided this is what you're going to do, your mind starts turning this. And the first thing you want to do is walk outside and look straight up at the trees.
See if there's wind.
And see what the wind is doing.
So, I mean, when it comes down to tournament day, you're literally, right when your eyes opening up, you're starting to put together it's not like when you're playing hockey and let's say you're going for the Stanley Cup, you may be that big of a tournament, but if you're just waking up and you're like, okay, yep, I am going to the hockey rink, it's blah, 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 like you're waking up and you're like, everything comes into play. When do you leave? What's the wind? What's the weather like? Is it rain? You're probably checking forecasts. You're putting the puzzle pieces together before they actually come together. I mean,
you're going back to the gas station in the morning again to see if you can get another half a gallon of gas in, make sure all the air burped out. It's just all of it. And then I've made some big runs, in the past as well, but this one in particular, I'm idling out for 45 minutes thinking about this.
Yeah, do you change your mind?
Right, the entire time, and I'm watching my precious fuel. As fuel efficient as these Yamahas are, they still need fuel to run. So I've got my Yamaha digital gauge sitting there watching the fuel I'm using, and so all that is going through. So then, yes, you get to the mouth of the river.
And you have a second to...
Now what's the wind doing? You've got 100-plus boats taking off, and there's waves going everywhere. So immediately you're like, well, what am I about to do here? So you just keep going. And that first morning, it was pretty bumpy.
Yep, first one was a bit rough. Not super bad, though. I mean, compared to what some of the practice days, you had.
Another part of the preparation process was Robert Blosser actually sat down and he made a trail, the most direct route.
And you need to follow. So when you were on your GPS, you were following the exact points.
It was right there. So I was able to line up and go, okay, because when you're running like that, you need your fuel, and if you get strayed off, it's easy to stray off 2-3 miles this way and not pay attention. But that line just happened to basically run right down the tubes of the waves, so I was able to go right through them.
It just worked out good, huh?
It just worked out good. A couple of the other guys that made some long runs, tucked the shoreline and wasted some of that precious fuel. But
so the puzzle pieces literally did line up.
They did. I mean, and I've always had a saying that I've never seen a wind coming. It's just happened. I felt some confidence going in, but it was just like this one. It's like, wow, this could happen.
I remember you saying that on stage, that normally you don't know, and then you have a good feeling that it might happen.
Yeah, I mean,
and it did.
The fish were there, and they were right. It was a matter of if I could get there and get them fast enough.
Did all your whole team go north?
No. We worked that stuff pretty calculated, and there just wasn't enough there.
So you didn't want to put too many boats on there.
We would have probably ended up splitting fish, and then nobody does well.
Yeah.
We had enough up there to support, 2 of us, so that's what we ended up doing.
Were they there all practice?
I had 3 days in a row in practice where I had 24 to 26 pounds, on the scale.
That's when you're thinking good stuff.
But that was 12 to 14-hour days. You're trying to figure out instead of...
Because what was the official times? You had 45-minute out.
So it was 45 out. From there, depending on the conditions, it was a minimum of 2 before I would drop and fish. And then, you have to pad a half hour in there to get fuel on the way back, because that's just another adventure. So you come out, you idle out, you get out, you got to start running, and you run, and you've got 2 hours to think about this, 3 hours to think about everything that can possibly go wrong that day. And then once you get there, you've got 2.5 to 3.5 hours to fish and catch 5. Right? And then
so it was 2 hours or 3 hours to get there?
It was 2 hours basically once out of the bay.
So you won the Cabelas NWT Saginaw Bay based off of 2 days of fishing, but only 6 hours of fishing split between 2 days.
Yes.
When most people would have over
15, 6?
Yeah, it's probably 6 to 7 hours a day or whatever it is, or in a normal place without the 45 minutes. But they gave you the extra time. It's just kind of weird to think that some people went 15, 20 miles and they ran their game and they had all day. You had 6 hours in less than 24 hours to win this, and you did it.
Yeah.
I remember sitting back when we were at the landing, and I was talking to people about, maybe 3 hours of fishing, and I'm sitting there like, how can you wrap your head around doing 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours of driving there, 2 to 3 hours driving back? You're literally driving more than you're fishing. You literally crush your whole day to hope that within this certain period of time you're going to get the fish.
Yep.
And then you got like Corey, who just sat under the bridge at the at the thing. He didn't sit there the whole time, but he ran the river system. Right. And he actually got some good weights out of the river system. And I'm like, hey, that's the guy I'd want to be filming with if I was with him, because he didn't have to make long runs. You're going up and down, up and down. But what kind of give us, we'll do this last part on this NWT thing. But just because you won, I'm excited to talk about that. But what day one, you're going out the mouth of the river. Can you give me a little recap of both days and what was going through your head when you were going out, coming back in, and then, of course, what was going through your head with all the emotions the second day.
So the first day, I went up there, and, you only got time to fish a couple spots, realistically. So I did key in and target small areas up there so I could hit them and get. And the fish would generally show themselves right away if they were there. Otherwise, you get lost on a big piece of structure. 3 hours goes by just like nothing. So that was a pretty solid plan that way. But I literally got 5 fish on day one. Caught 5 walleyes.
So you got your limit and no more.
And no more. And I had a little bit of time once I got my 5th one, but I knew I had a decent bag. I had a little bit of time, and I looked at my Cal, and I said, Cal, let's go. I said we could fish another 20, maybe 20 minutes. I said, but
let's be safe.
We've got a lot of things between us and home, and I said one of them's a fuel dock. So we took off, took our 5th fish, and left. And I pulled into the fuel dock, and there was the wind was blowing into the harbor where I fueled up, and it was kind of irony, actually. I'll back up just a little bit, because as we were fishing one of my areas, I watched this great big tuna boat come in front of me about 150, 200 yards across the structure I was fishing. And I'm thinking,
I will say there was a few of those nicely well put people out there, that decided to cut in front. Something about locals and tournament boats, they don't like each other.
So I'm watching this cruiser drive across the structure I'm fishing, and there's not enough wind on it to support that. So I'm just cussing this guy left and right. Like, what are you doing in there? You got an entire lake behind me. Why are you driving across, this? And he was probably 5 minutes past, and we got a 5-pounder. So I'm like, all right, okay, that guy's off the hook. Maybe he chased that fish right to us.
That guy's okay then.
Now I'm going to go back to the fuel dock. I come pulling into the fuel dock. Well, here sits this big old tuna boat in there. And he's in there getting fuel. So I come in. Of course, I'm antsy. I got decent fish. I just want to get home now. And this guy obviously missed boat lesson driving 101 class because he couldn't get off the dock. So he'd get out away from
That's
the
when
dock.
I wish you had a camera.
Oh, my gosh. It was so stressful. He'd get away from the dock. The wind would blow him back in. So all of the attendants on the dock are helping him, trying to save him from crushing their dock system, right? And the whole time I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs. I want to jump up and grab the gasket. And they finally get him out of there, and I get my fuel, and away I go. But it's just those things, the
little things that can change or alter your game.
So then you run back, and a lot of things can change in that amount of miles across the Great Lakes. I mean, there's several days I'd be talking to Joe or Rob in practice, and I'd be in flat, calm water, and they'd be on the other side or whatever, and they'd be in 4-footers. I mean, that's just the way it works there, the winds and the currents. And both days coming through that Charity Island area, it was pretty sloppy. And, you still got 40 miles to go at that point. So you hit that, and it's like, ooh, am I going to make it? I mean, this is going to be this way all the way, the rest of the way home. But and then you drive through that, and then you get to the river, right?
And then you've
got 45 minutes in, and you got to keep your fish alive. You're coming into warmer water and all this. And I mean, you look at the results. What would a half-pound dead fish penalty done to me?
Yeah.
So...
There was a close run.
Yeah, I mean, so you got all that just leading up to getting to the stage.
Well, I don't want to bring it up, but the Jim Carroll's fish in the second day, that was upset. I mean, not too many people know what was going on, and I don't really need to bring it up, but I was so frustrated myself, and I was just sitting there filming you guys, and I was frustrated about it because it was me and Brett who found it in the second tub. And then I started reviewing photos that I was taking and, being a ninja and investigating. But, yeah, that's, it's just the little minor details that can literally flip it completely upside down, and change everything.
Yep.
because you have to pre-plan everything to go into. So that was your day one. You came in.
Yep.
You walked the stage. You ended in second place. Second place. So you're going into day two in second place, thinking, okay, if I can do anything that I did yesterday, you're in the money.
Yep.
So what was going through your head when you were heading out the mouth again for the second day? It's money day. It's a big day. Everyone loves day two, right? What was going through your head? Did you do the same game plan? What was your speeds you were pushing? What were you using for baits? That kind of thing you can add in there as well.
Sure. Second day it was calmer than the first day, and it was also my long day.
It was 115 degrees.
Yeah, I had the extra hour in there, so I knew I was going to get more fishing time. I could hit another key spot or two. So took a nice run out. Got over there. I was able to run my Yarcraft and keep my Yamaha at about 2.9 miles to the gallon at roughly 51 miles an hour. So, I mean,
it was pretty flat, so you could cruise.
Yep. So, I'm adjusting jack plates and tilt and trim and all that, getting my fuel mileage where I was. And then it was literally sit back and
cruise control
and just drink coffee for the rest of the way out there.
At least you could drink it at that point because you weren't really shaking all over the place.
And just that's
so you went same spot.
Yep, that's when your mind starts wrapping around the task at hand once you get there, and so pull in there, and I actually got 4 fish pretty fast the second day. But I also had 2 of the smallest fish I'd seen up there for the most part all week.
But it was good this tournament you could swap, right?
Yep,
so you could upgrade.
You could cull. And the current was sweeping very different across the spot I was on. So I don't know if it just shifted them a little bit. I couldn't pinpoint them, but it just wasn't panning out per se. So I had a 7-pounder follow me to the boat. 6 to 7 pound fish come up and follow me right to the boat.
Get your heartbeat going.
And it never bit. After that, I was like, so ended up going out to another area that I didn't get to fish on day one because I had some extra time, and I actually had one more further, and I sat there and calculated the fuel, and I was going to be within probably a gallon if I went, and I'm like, I can't do that. So anyways, the whole mindset thing, I'm sitting there fishing this hump, and we've got 4, and it's already afternoon. I had my phone on silent in my pocket, and it rung. This is something I really didn't get a chance to get into on the stage, and I got 2 back-to-back calls, just like boom, boom. So I told my co-angler, and the camera guys had told me, we'll probably reach out to you at some point that day. So I told my co-angler, Matt, I said, Matt, I have to see what's going on. Somebody is trying to get a hold of me, no doubt. So I'm going to pull my phone out. I'm going to look at it.
It could be anything from a family emergency, etc. But because it's a no-talk tournament, right? So you can't communicate.
So you can't communicate with your phone. But there are some exceptions to that when you got camera guys. Yeah. So I pulled my phone out, and it was a 218 area code, which is
Minnesota here.
One of the camera guys called me from the night before. And so I told Matt, I said, this is the camera guy. I'm going to put it on speaker so you can hear everything I have to say or hear. So I answered it. Well, here it was a Yarcraft customer from Minnesota. And as soon as I figured it out, I'm like, I'm sorry, man, I can't be on the phone. I'm in the middle of a tournament. I thought you were the camera guy. That's the only reason I answered the phone. I just want to ask you a couple questions. I'm like, dude, I can't. I got to go. And I said, I'll call you later, and I hung up the phone. So I made a couple more casts, and that was all I was thinking about.
Was that
call. Man, what just happened there? Did I just blow this? Things like that. So I put my rod down, picked up my phone, put it on speaker, and I called Anthony Wright, tournament director. And he answered. He's like, what's going on, young man? I said, Anthony, here's the deal. I got to tell you a scenario. I said, I got to get this off my brain so I can fish clean for the rest of the time I have. And I told him what happened. And, And he just said, "Did you learn in any way, shape, or form how to catch any additional fish today?" And I said, "Absolutely not." My co-angler heard the whole conversation.
And props to you to actually talking to your co-angler and turning on speakerphone, because that's one of the concerned things every time you're in the boat with a co-angler is the stuff going to be okay for them to think that they might get disqualified? I think they're more worried about themselves being disqualified than you being disqualified. So that's a good thing that you reached out to me.
Yeah, and I had to get it out of my head. I was not going to fish well for the last hour I had.
So you said it was
Yep, and he said, "Nope, you're good. Go get your fish." At that point, we reeled up and bounced again, and then hit the last spot, and I hit the home run and caught those two real nice fish back to back. And
that was on your way back.
Yeah, just on the way back to the field dock.
Luck of a draw.
A spot that I never touched on day one, and
you got a 7 and
I got one just under 7 and one right over 6, as it turns out, and that was that area I found at like 8:30 p.m. in practice. It just
worked out.
Just worked out.
So you got to the fuel.
Got to the fuel dock, and that was a pretty good story too. As I was pulling into the fuel dock, there was 2 young ladies working at the fuel dock. So I come pulling up, and I go, "I got some pretty precious cargo in here. Can you gals turn me pretty quick and get me going?" And she goes, "Well, yeah, absolutely." And she goes, "God, that seems to be the theme of the day." She goes, "The gander boat was just in here." And he basically said the same thing and said something to the effect that, he might have enough to get this done or whatever. And
that's going through your head because he was one of the ones on the stage.
Yep.
He took third?
Yep.
So
yeah, Tom Keenan, he took third.
So third place, and now you're sitting there and hearing that.
The gal at the field dock is telling me, that basically he's got good fish. And I'm like,
You're like, good, now I have 2 more hours to think about it when I drive back.
So I just said, I hope I have 5 walleyes in here that are going to tell a different story. And she fielded me up, and I threw her like $80 for a tip. And she kind of looked at it, like, "Wow, thank you." And I said, "I'm pretty sure I might get this back pretty quick." And away we went.
Oh,
so...
it would have felt like crap if you didn't,
I made Okada look bad because he told me he only left 20 when he came in. So.
Oh, yeah, that's it. They were doing a good. They were making some money that day.
They had a good hour there. But yeah, then we took a very uneventful ride home. Got my fish in, got them. Anthony came down to the boat and checked my fish, make sure they were alive. That was all good, and then he goes sit out in the middle of the river.
Yeah, I saw that. They wouldn't even let you guys sit on the side. It was float around and putts back and forth.
Yep. And
at that point, you knew you were top something.
Well, I knew
cases.
I was going to be right up there, but I also got super stud Tom Keenan sitting 40 yards off to me, with what I know from the gas lady, a good bag. I got Joe Okada, who's one of the probably the best fishermen I've ever fished with. I know he's got them. There's no question in my mind he's got them, so I got him to deal with, which, like I said on stage, when it was him and I up there first and second, I said, I win either way. Mm-hmm. This is one of my best friends.
Yeah.
No matter what, I win, no matter which way this goes. So, but yeah, it couldn't happen fast enough, and then your fisher. You look at that leaderboard. So the whole time you're sitting there, your fishers. I had a dozen gobies in the bottom of my live well that night. And 2 more gobies.
Yeah.
And so it's just the whole story is pretty amazing, really.
He walked across the stage when he brought his bag up, and he said 23. 23 pounds, right? That's what it was.
Yep.
Something like that. What went through your head at that? And you have to still remember it was fresh. What went through your head when he said, "And the Cabelas National Walleye Tour champion is," and you did the double fist push out, the 2-foot walk, and then he said, "Brett Kane, what was going on?"
Oh, it's just the hard work and the dedication and the living through the bad times. I had a horrible year last year. You start to doubt yourself, and people start doubting you. maybe you're washed up, you're done, whatever. And when that happened, when they said he had 23 pounds, I mean, I just couldn't hold it in. It was like, yes, yes, finally, again.
You did it. It's yours.
I get to do this again. And
it rejuvenates you to keep going.
Yep.
And, let's just take the top pros in the walleye circuit here. When you think of age range, when you said washed up and all that good stuff, it is an older crowd. And I'm not saying older as in like 65 years old, but I'm saying, you got like Corey and stuff like 30 years old.
27 or 8, I think he is. Something like that.
No, I think he's 30 because I'm 27, and I think I asked him in Wisconsin, and I think he said, yeah, 28 to 30, somewhere in there, and that's young, but even the coes, and I want to talk to you about coes in a second too, but there isn't a whole lot of age range in the younger side in the National Walleye Tour in that circuit, and you start to wonder when it comes down to knowledge and years, and there's a lot that kind of goes into that in a sense to think, why isn't there a younger generation wanting to do more tournaments? But I think right now is a strong time because you have little high school leagues popping up. You have like college circuits going, and there's walleye ones, there's muskie ones, there's bass ones. And I think, I hope one day we can see more younger people in it. I'm not saying like there's a bunch of old people in the walleye tournament, but there's a lot of knowledge in the walleye tournament with all your guys' brains. But when it comes down to co-anglers and you fishing multiple tournaments with coes and without coes, what is this one, or in general, what would you say to someone who maybe wants to be a co? Because you'd be the perfect person to ask because you skipped co, in a sense.
Yep.
So with you working with coes, what is something to say to someone that wants to go out and do it, be in the tournaments?
And I'll relate back to Lucas. This is something he thinks he may want to get into eventually here. And I told him, I said, it's not even optional for you. You will fish as a co. You're going to educate yourself. Even though you know more than most, you're going to educate yourself on the other pros' money.
You learn all of the knowledge from all the people you can fish with.
I would encourage anybody that can physically do it, because you have to keep in mind, you might get with the crazy cowboy like myself that decides you're going for an 80-mile Hail Mary that day, and it's not always so nice out.
I wouldn't want to do that.
Right. So you got to be physically able, because you're not going for a guided day on the water. Catching fish is a little part of it. But it can be the most educational thing for you. Matt, my second day co-angler, I think after I caught that last fish, he said something to the, of course I'm on a high at that point, but I distinctly remember him saying, this was worth 3 times my money. Just to experience this with you and watch you work. And he's like, this has been amazing.
I hear a lot of it, that exact thing, when it comes down to what I think is people that truly care for the art of fishing and they truly want to be more involved in fishing. Not just, I fish on the weekends and stuff like this. These people that are co-anglers, they're doing it because they truly want to learn all the knowledge they possibly can, soak it all in, and hopefully one day maybe be in your shoes. And maybe not. That I'm talking to some of the co's at this last place where they've been co-angling for years.
Yes.
Years, like 20-some years. They've been, and they're just riding it out, and they're going from location to location, tournament to tournament. And they should write a book. Could you imagine the book? So there's actually a guy in Bemidji who was at both NWT events. He's writing a book. This is his last year doing tournaments. He's been doing tournaments for maybe 15 years. I don't know the exact amount of years, but just think of the knowledge in that dude's head, because he's not only been with like you, he's been with, Cabelas, he's been, just think of like, holy crap. Like,
I would love to read a book that the co-anglers write, and I've said it many a times, us pros should get together and write a book on co-anglers, because it goes both ways. And
that would be.
And I've had some amazing experiences, and I've had some co-anglers, that are just phenomenal fishermen, and you can tell they're going to be at the next level. And, I've had some really bad experiences, which obviously we're not going to get into that, but but I've made a lot of friends, and I've always tried to treat my co's with, respect, no matter what the situation, because you don't want them nervous and uncomfortable either.
Yeah.
But I've made a lot of friends over the years with co-anglers, and they all get your phone number.
That's the truth statement.
And they keep it, so all of a sudden, like,
or next thing you know, they message you on Facebook, they're nice, and I've seen a couple times where you get invited to their house. Oh, if you're ever in my town, come on.
Right.
Like now we're like best friends, which is cool. It's like this heart to heart.
Yep.
Something in the hunting industry is huge. The fishing industry is small. Everyone knows each other, and you don't want to burn bridges. You don't want to be rude. For some reason, the fishing industry has this camaraderie group of love bubble around it. And if there's someone that's ignorant and all this good stuff, next thing you know, they're not even in the industry anymore.
Right.
They're gone because they can't do it. They can't fit in. It's not designed to have that kind of level of ignorance and that kind of stuff in this industry. Everyone's so nice, and it's cool to be able to hear their stories and hear your guys' stories. But you said something about your travel to Saginaw that you wanted to come back to, just because this is the last part of the Saginaw thing, and then I have a couple more mini things, and then we'll wrap it up.
So we're on our way out. And again, I told you, Joe and I worked on my boat till about 3:30 in the morning, and we left 7:30, 8 o'clock that morning. So we're both, tired. And we get down around Chicago, and we finally get up into Michigan. And we pull over at this fuel stop, and it's kind of a truck stop type atmosphere. You got autos over here, trucks on this side. And we both pull in, we're fueling, and we get done, and I had to go inside for something, and it was one of them you had to get the pump authorized before you could do whatever. Well, somehow, some way, we get done fueling, and Joe had pulled off over to the side, and he was waiting. And I pull up over there, and he goes, "There's a Walmart right down the road. You want to go get our lunch stuff and that kind of supplies and whatever?" I'm like, "Sure." So we go over and do our deal. We both go shopping, meet back out in the parking lot. We were going to go get something to eat. And we both just decided, you know what, let's just eat a sandwich. We just bought all this stuff. Yep, we just bought it. Let's just make a sandwich.
Better than McDonald's.
Yep. So I'm sitting on my bait well on my boat, and Joe's sitting on his tailgate of his truck, and we're eating a sandwich, and we're going to get on the road right away because we still had quite a ways to go. My phone rings. Nothing unusual there. I pull it out, and I look at it, and it's a 989 Michigan area code. I'm like, I have no idea who this is, so I answered it. Well, here it was the local police department.
Did you not pay for your gas?
He goes, "Were you just at so-and-so gas station?" I said, "Well, yeah." He goes, "Well, you didn't pay for your gas." I said, "Well, yes, I did too. I stood in line inside and paid the gal." I said, "I got the receipt in my truck." And he goes, "Were you traveling with anybody?"
Joe.
And I go, "Yes, I was traveling with somebody." He goes, "Did he pay for his gas?" And I go, "Joe, did you get your diesel when we were at the gas station?" And he's like, "Well, yeah." And then he got the Joe Cotta just look of emptiness.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, I pulled off to the side, and I forgot to go in."
That's crazy how quick that...
So we... I said, "Well, we're just down the road. We'll be right back there. You want it over the phone?" "Nope, we can't take it over the phone, So we go back there. Joe goes in, pays for his fuel. We leave. I didn't even get on the highway yet, and my phone rings from National Fleet Graphics, which is one of my title sponsors. That's what my truck rep is, my boat rep is. And it's Dan from National Fleet Graphics, and he goes, "Are you all right? Or are you in big trouble?" And I go, I knew exactly what he's talking about. I'm like, "No, I'm good. Why?" He goes, "Well, a cop just called here," and he goes, "I didn't know what he wanted."
The logo.
I didn't know what he wanted.
The billboard.
So he goes, "I didn't want to tell him anything, but he wanted your contact information." And he said something about grand larceny.
Jeez.
So they literally took the surveillance tape and looked at my logo,
checked the logos,
Googled it, whatever, looked at the phone number, called back home to National Fleet Graphics. And
he gave you up.
He gave me up.
And it wasn't even you.
And of course, Scott St. Sauver was at National Fleet Graphics getting his boat wrapped that day, so he heard the whole story. So then it gets immediately back out to the NWT, to Mark Kortz and all those guys. So I heard about that all week. So yeah, that's kind of how the whole
the
thing
pain
went.
for gas deal. Okay, so I have Patrick. Obviously, he's the co-host.
Yep.
He could not make it today because his daughter's sick, so hopefully she gets better. But he asked me a couple things, and I guess I'm going to ask him. So, any interest in crossing the ocean to go fish for Xander or something else?
Absolutely. I
That's
would
one
love
of
to
your-
do that, yeah.
Is it, because you're so used to like walleye fishing and stuff like that, is that something that in the future you're for sure going to... Remember how
so.
you started this whole conversation where you were working and saving up for that one
Yep,
walleye trip?
yep.
Is it something where you're working to maybe save up to go do an adventure like that? And if you do it and you need a cameraman, let me know. I'll film the whole adventure for
Sounds
you.
good. No, I would love to do that. You see these pictures of these big Xander, and I mean, they're identical. They look identical, and it's just like I could catch that.
I got that skill level. I can do that.
I can catch that, and I just want to go and see it and see the similarities to it for myself, and just go catch those giants.
Yeah, that's. I'm not an ocean guy, and I'm not saying that it's an ocean, but it takes a lot for me to step out of the comfort zone of, and it should for you too, as a tournament fisherman. Maybe it gets you excited to maybe go bass fishing one day. I have no idea, but good to step out of your comfort zone and feel the difference in fishing around the world.
My approach to that has always kind of been this. I'm going to, for now, this part of life, Lucas has pulled me to the bass side a little bit. We just did the Sturgeon Bay Open and things like that.
Yeah, I saw those pics.
For now, I'm concentrating on walleyes. If I'm still in this game, I'm still trying to make a living fishing walleyes. That's my focus, right? Because I feel like I can learn every single day I'm on the water. I'm going to learn something.
You don't want to pull yourself and waste yourself in a different direction.
If I don't learn something every single day on the water, I'm not paying attention, and I'm not listening to what's going on out there. But when I decide to, hang up my cleats per se and put my ball and bat away and walk away from tournament walleye fishing, I plan on fishing everything I can get my hands on.
Enjoy retirement in a sense?
That's when I want to go fish smallmouth, largemouth, bluegills, crappies, you name it. Because I don't ever want to quit fishing. I just don't.
Is there a possibility of when, or have you been thinking of when you're going to stop turning?
Obviously, you have a bad year like last year. I had a horrible year. I had a lot of stuff going on at home and whatever. But, no. I mean, if I'm physically
you're doing it. If you're physically able, you're doing it.
I'll probably be out there swinging, as long as I keep some good companies behind me. That's one thing I'd like to take this chance. I haven't really got a chance to thank a lot of them through this. But, Yarcraft Boats, I took a job with them. Starting the first of the year, running the territory up here for them. Yamaha's obviously a big part of my career in putting durable, fuel-efficient engines behind me so I can go do this stuff.
So you can make those long runs.
National Fleet Graphics so the cops can catch up to me, in the middle of Michigan. Those guys have been behind me for years, and that business plan has worked incredible for them. We wrap most of those boats you're seeing out there, National Fleet Graphics wraps themselves. Yeah, so that's amazing. We just got on with JT Outdoor Products.
I did see all you guys had that now.
We're designing some rods, and our statistics through the first 3 tournaments using those rods is off the hook. And it's fun. I don't want to put it down, and I want to fish every tournament this way. So that's going to be a fun one to build on. Gatorback, sometimes you just gotta look.
Motor Guy Berkeley, Smooth Moves.
Yeah, Smooth Moves. That's a company
You got to have it. If you don't have them, you got to have Airwave or something, because when you're sitting there bouncing like this and this and this and this. So
Smooth Moves definitely contributes to my fishing day, because I can get there a lot less fatigued and not beat up. And that's a company that's near and dear to me. I started that company way back when and actually sold it to Kevin now.
Did not know that.
Yeah, yep. That was my original sponsor. That's how I got my start. I created that company and that product, and I sold product to pay for my fishing.
Awesome.
So I've had a real long-standing relationship with them and all those guys. I mean, that's what it takes to be able to do it.
You have to have a support team that starts with the family, your sponsors, your fans, yourself. And yeah, I mean, you gotta represent the sponsors and the family and all that stuff, because they're the ones that back you to be able to have your crazy adventures, just like the one you just had. So, I mean, that's you just. I'm not afraid to let you just list them off. You have to. That's.
I mean, without them, without them, I mean, this is such a financially devastating game at times. I mean, you got to have that support. And, back to the young anglers, that's a lot of the reason you don't see the young anglers per se in there, because
maybe because of some money issues.
Legitimately, we carry a $4,000 to $5,000 budget per event. I mean, like I alluded to earlier, it's high stakes poker. And, you got to be able to go through those lows like I did last year and be able to maintain. Yeah, got to thank them all.
Yeah, you. What's your pregame and going into Devil's Lake? Is that a body water you fish a lot? Or have you fished multiple times? What's your game plan coming off of a win? Now you are sneaking some other tournaments in there. Before you ask the Devil's Lake one, how many tournaments are you doing this year specifically?
Oh, a dozen.
About a dozen,
yeah.
And that's throughout the summertime.
Yep.
All walleye.
Yep. One bass.
One bass, and that's the one you did up in Wisconsin. Okay, so going into, with the mixture of a big tournament with some smaller ones thrown in there, going into Devil's Lake off of a win on the National Walleye Tour, main stage, you did it. Now you're going into location number 3. What's going through your head? Excitement.
Well, and now I am leading the Angler of the Year race, and that's
is that more important to you than maybe, let's say, like taking a title? Because it is to some people.
It is, and it isn't. I mean, I'm not going to change necessarily the way I fish. Specifically for that, I'm not going to go into safeguard mode or anything like that. There's too much competition here, and these guys are too tough. You can't go into safe mode. You just got to fish. But I have an Angler of the Year title in AIM back in the Pro Walleye Series back there, so I would love to get another one, on what is now the National Walleye Tour for sure. But I sit here and think, going to Devil's Lake, I've got 2 tournaments this weekend. Next week I have to go to Pierce, South Dakota and work the Elite Bass Series event out there. I have to come back home. Then I go to Mountain Home, Arkansas for our Yarcraft Bass Cat Dealers meeting.
Never ends for people like you.
And then come home. I'm going to leave that part out because it might. I can't go into that one. But and this is all before. Then I'm going to come home from Mountain Home, Arkansas, and I'm going to hop right in the truck and off to Devil's Lake. We're going to go. So I'm not going to get a whole lot of time to mentally, think the whole thing through, other than drive time and different things. But I like Devil's Lake. Devil's Lake changes every year, so it's just like a new body of water when you go there. It'll always carry some of the same similarities, but it doesn't seem like anybody always has a real advantage there, other than a couple of the local guys out there that get to fish it all the time. But as far as the tough studs I'm going against for the Angler of the Year race going in there, I feel pretty good because it'll be different than it was the last time we were there. So should be fun. It should be a really good bite. And
Just another
get to be casting and doing the stuff I love to do. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Really,
That's good. You hit a two-way street. You're either excited, maybe with a little bit of nervousness, or you're completely, chill and relaxed, or you're completely off the bonkers thinking, I'm coming off a win, I have pressure on me, I got all this other time, I'm not thinking of other, strategies right now because I'm busy with other stuff, and your head's just all over the place. But I think it's good for someone in your shoes to be able to know what can get you excited and pumped, and when it's relaxed, chill, and game plan type thinking.
Yep. And like I said, with everything I've got going on for work and other commitments, I'm just not going to get a lot of time to get worried about it. So I'm just going to go in there and do what I do.
And it's crazy to think a lot of people, like whether you're a TV host or a tournament fisherman or whatever you're doing in the fishing industry, how much time you spend on the water, whether it's ice fishing or open water. In an average year, ice or open water, how much time do you spend on the water? And this might give some of the people, that's listening an idea of
Sure.
how, holy crap, that's some dedication.
And I live in a very unique area on the Mississippi River, so I have open water 12 months a year. Yeah. And I get to go pitch jigs and, keep that edge a little bit. But there are some of these guys, and that's their deal, that if they're not fishing per se for money, they don't go. They just don't do it. And I'm one of these guys that I just can't. If I don't go fishing once a week, I'm all but cranky and not.
It's it's your meditation.
Yeah, it's my zen.
Yeah.
And that's just where I get rid of things, in my head and in my life is when I go on the water. So I love to fish even if I'm not tournament fishing. That's just what I do. So realistically, I probably spend 120 to 130 days a year fishing open water. So
do you dabble in any ice fishing?
A little bit. Kind of, it's so busy with boat shows and sport shows and all that through the winter. I don't get a ton of time to do it. But living in Hager City, Wisconsin, now I've got Lake Pepin there, which is a piece of the Mississippi. But that freezes over. And the big saugers like to hang out down there. So, you can go down there for the last hour of daylight and typically get on a pretty good run of them. So I did get out a half a dozen times last year, and I do enjoy it. I just don't get a lot of time.
Well, it's warmer right now. That's the best part about
yes.
it. But when 2012, 2013 was the first time I met you at an AIM tournament in Oconto, Wisconsin. And one of the fond memories I have is riding with you and your family in your boat through a parade. A tournament doing a parade's kind of cool. You have the city around. We're throwing candy all over the place. What is your favorite memory about maybe in a hole, you got to have one, right? A favorite memory of your fishing tournament series of your lifetime. Is there anything besides the moment that literally just happened, in Saginaw Bay winning? But
honestly, you just called it out. If you remember right, that tournament you're talking about in Oconto, following that boat parade, I got to go up on stage, with my son, who at the time I believe was 13 years old, and that was one of those pro co-events. And you got Gary Parsons, Keith Cavias, Tom Kimos, Chase Parsons, Joe Okada, Robert Blosser. It was the core group of very, very tough anglers. And, for him and I to go in there with him at that age, and we didn't win. We fell a little short. John Schneider and Nick Schertz ended up winning that one. But to take second in that level of competition
with your son,
with my son that was 13 years old, knowing he will never, ever, ever forget that.
That's that family bond is what truly was probably your most favorite memorable moment, which is, it's good for you to have an answer like that over maybe winning a tournament.
And I've been handed a platter of cash of $40,000, obviously cool. This one was way cool. The first one I won in Green Bay was way cool, but just that moment was so special that day, in the boat, to watch that all come together and to watch him work and watch him get so excited over what was happening. And I'm trying to downplay it all day how close I figured we were to winning that thing.
Yeah.
And, because he's getting excited. And Greg Strulo was my co-angler that day, and he had a son the same age. And Greg and I, we talk all the time now. We've become pretty good friends over that deal. And I distinctly remember him grabbing Lucas and calming him down in the boat.
He was so excited.
He was just, wanting to go do this. And Greg just grabbed Lucas. He says, Lucas, he goes, you got to trust your dad. He's feeling it, and he knows what he's doing. Just go with it and just work with him. And so just that whole day, that's just something I'll never, ever forget.
That's awesome. That's those family bond moments that will last. Those memories last forever, and that's one reason why I like photos and videos, because you're making the memories. But how many tournaments have you won? And how many years have you been tournament fishing?
I've been doing the from the PWT up for probably 16 or 17 years now. 16 for sure. So through the PWT, the RCL, the FLW, the AIM Pro-Am Walleye Series, to now, the NWT, I might have missed one in there somewhere. I've been able to pull off 3 of those. I've got numerous other, stuff back home, smaller tournament level stuff, some smaller championships.
But 3 on a big level.
3 on the big level. So feel very fortunate for that. A lot of guys never get an opportunity to do that. This sport eats them up and spits them out pretty quick.
People wouldn't think it's just fishing.
Yeah, yeah. So there's obviously way more talented guys than myself that have won a lot more. I mean, we've got a young gun named Corey Springle that looks like right about now he's going to smash every record there ever was. And we're all trying to figure out how to slow that guy down a little bit.
Because he just won in the first event.
Yeah, he just won Winnebago.
In Wisconsin.
I'd be lying if I said any of us were surprised. I mean, the kid's just good. I mean, he's got talent. Yep, no doubt. So, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try to be as competitive as I can be and just keep the foot on the gas. And, I've got one more major personal goal for my career before I'll even consider that, walking away thing. And that's I want to win a major championship. I've won some smaller ones, but that's one of the last notches I have on my belt is to win, a major Pro-Am NWT type championship.
So like Lake of the Woods?
Like Lake of the Woods.
So maybe this year?
You never know.
Okay, mark it off the list. Well, I'm going to let you get back to your son's birthday. You got here we are talking tournaments, but now you have to strategize because you have the AIM tournament coming up. You said this weekend, right?
Yeah,
so
Saturday and Sunday.
You got to go continue your time out there. Patrick, is here in imaginary territory. He
Hi,
told
Patrick.
he told me to apologize that he wasn't here and to thank you for taking the time out to come with us. I super appreciate it, and stuff like this. What we do is it's not for us. I'm not. Although I learned some cool things like the smooth moves and learning about why you got into the industry, because I'm a history guy, I like that kind of stuff, but. We do this just so people can, if they wanted to know something, maybe it was hit. We consider it almost like that picnic buffet that you go to. You always go to like a picnic and everyone brings a dish to pass. Some stuff you might like, some stuff you might not. But this is mostly just about you and tournament fishing. And I'm sure I missed questions that I wanted to ask, but
I'm sure
we could be here for hours.
2 days.
Yeah, it's one of those things where time goes quick. We did an hour and 15 minutes. You have a 45-minute drive. I want to get you on the road. We super appreciate it.
Hey, like you said, I appreciate the video you put together. I mean, this was the least I could do to pay you back for that. That's something I always have. And
it's all for you. And if you need a hard copy or anything like that, don't hesitate. Or any of the photos that The thing was, when I do those, I wish, obviously I'm filming for our show, and I was going to say, too, that they were filming all of Cabelas NWT was filming. So if you want to see him in action, it's going to be later on this year, It'll be on a few different networks. We're filming a behind-the-scenes type thing. I put out vlogs. I have a vlog coming out for this one where it just kind of shows random stuff of everyone having a good time at the tournament. But it's just one of those things that you kind of loses appreciation to have. Like, for me to talk to you, like, it means a lot for you to come here. Sure. So I basically want to just say that I super appreciate your time, and I'm super happy that you decided to win, and you decided to win. That you won. But, yeah, I appreciate it, and I hope to maybe even have you back one time when Patrick's here. We can talk something else, because we could talk for hours.
Well, maybe on the way back from Lake of the Woods.
I have a couple people that are that want to do the same. They're like, yeah, maybe on the way there or on the way back.
But maybe on the way back, if I can pull that one off, then we can sit down and maybe have a retirement talk, because that's the last notch on the belt.
He's getting it done. But yeah, this is the Broken Line Podcast. Super appreciate it. Brett King, tournament fisherman, as well as championship NWT Saginaw Bay. And all I can say is good luck in Devil's Lake, and more importantly, good luck in that championship, because I hope you do awesome there. But we appreciate having you.
All right. Appreciate you taking the time to spend with me.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Broken Line Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.